As we continue on with this, we'll take a look now at item number 3, perhaps 4 and 5. We'll see how far we get here. But I want to just make sure that we continue on with this in-class problem using CAPM and WACC. And so here I'm saying, using the CAPM model, calculate the firm's RE, or the rate that we would expect for the common stock, RP, the opportunity cost rate for the preferred stock, and RD, the rate for the debt. Well, this is fairly simple. This shouldn't be too difficult for us. To get RE, we're going to take RF for the common stock plus the beta factor times RM minus RF, again for the common stock. And you've got those factors, RF, RM, and beta here. So you just plug those in, and then it tells us 0.118 or 11.8%. We're going to use these values, by the way, in perhaps in our WACC equation. So we're going to do the exact same thing for the cost of preferred. RE is the cost of common, RP the cost of preferred, RD is the cost of debt. And in this case, we're using CAPM because we're told to, which really means that we're using the market cost or the current opportunity cost. Now recognize that might actually be a little different than the firm's cost. Think of this for a moment. Let's assume that interest rates had actually changed in the market, and we're now thinking about the debt issue. Well, we know that this firm is paying 7.2% coupon rate. That's its actual hard dollar cost for its debt. But if interest rates had changed, that means that the risk-free rate for debt might have changed, and the market rate for debt of that type might have changed, possibly even the beta might have changed. And so we might come up with, if we had different numbers there, we might come up with an RD that's different than 7.2. That would be kind of the opportunity cost of the debt, not really the hard dollar cost of the debt. The hard dollar cost is what the firm's paying, 7.2%. So you think about the fact that you might be looking at a cost structure that the firm experiences as a hard dollar versus a cost structure that's an opportunity cost or more of a market-driven cost structure. This will bring about a way of thinking about WACC that's a little bit different than you might have been taught about in Finance 300, where you probably were exposed to a market-based WACC, but recognize you can come up with market-based costs, or you can come up with, and which market-based cost is really going to be an opportunity cost, or we can come up with the actual hard dollar cost that the firm feels and experiences when it cuts that check. As we go on to number 4, given that we have both coupon rate, current YTM, and RD for the firm's debt, which value would you use when thinking about the most accurate measure as the cost of the firm's debt? Well, I'm saying use the coupon rate, since that's the amount that the firm is actually paying. But recognize, depending upon how you were looking at this, you might have chosen to use the opportunity cost, which would be the YTM or the RD. Those should be the same if we calculated RD through the CAPM structure. In number 5, we're saying what are the proportional weights for each of the firm's capital components. Well, remember that we have a scenario for WACC that asks for some weights, E divided by V, P divided by V, D divided by V, where E is the capital amount of the common, P is the capital amount of the preferred, B is the capital, or excuse me, D, that should be D, not B. D is the capital amount of the bonds or debt, and V is E plus P plus D. And in this case, I had given, and you saw this on the prior page, you saw the book values. I'd given those to us. So we have those here, and we can simply add those up, and that takes us to 26,250,000. So E divided by V is 10 million divided by 26,250,000. P divided by V is 1,250,000 divided by 26,250,000. D is 15 million divided by 26,250,000, and we get then 38.1, 4.6, and 57.14%. But here's something that's a little bit unusual. I'm giving you the book value weights rather than market value weights. If I was giving you market value weights, we're told in that matrix I gave you earlier, the market value of that outstanding stock was 12 million, not 10. And the market value of the outstanding preferred was 1,450,000, I think, rather than 1,250,000. So if we'd have added those up, that would have given us a different V, which would have then changed these weights some. But I'm using for this, just for the sake of practice here, I'm using these as book value weights, not market value weights. But we used market value opportunity costs for RE, RP, and RD because we use those from the CAPM. So I'm kind of mixing an apple and an orange here, which you normally wouldn't do, but I'm just using it for the sake of this exercise so you can see what these different calculations are. And then we're putting that into the WACC equation. And the WACC equation is WACC is equal to the weight times the cost of common plus the weight times the cost of preferred plus the weight times the cost of debt. And the debt element is then times 1 minus the tax rate. That gives us the after-tax cost of the debt, because interest is what the cost is a tax-deductible expense. Someone was asking me after class the other day if RD wouldn't already have been reduced by this 1 minus tax, and it wouldn't be. The WACC equation is the weight times the cost times the tax reducing factor, or the tax adjustment. So RD is a pre-tax cost. When we put it into the WACC equation, we then are adjusting it for after tax. So if you use those values, then now we're looking at 8.01% when you calculate that together.